Hello everyone, welcome to Python class 2. My name is Vishal. So in the previous session, we sort of focused on the introduction to Python, to notebooks, to Anaconda, and we looked at some basic stuff like what variables are and what are the primary fundamental data types on Python. And in this session, we'll look at a couple of other things and we'll start with uh, rules for setting variable names. So we're going to start with that. So we learned what a variable is. Variable is anything that stores some information, some value, right? So A can be 3, which is an integer type, or it can store anything here in string type. So it can store a bunch of different kinds of information. But now A is the name of the variable. So if you want to refer to that variable somewhere else in your code, you have to use the name of the variable to reference it, right? Now, there are a few set of rules that you need to follow. Now, the first rule is that the variable name can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. So this is all a variable name can contain. So letters, numbers, and the underscore. So for example, I can say V23 is equal to 5. This will work fine. Or I can say number num_1 is equal to 10. This will work fine too, right? But the moment you try to use something else like a full stop, then that's going to give you an error. It's not going to work, right? So special characters are not allowed. Special characters are not allowed. So only use in variable names. So I can say num1 is equal to 5. The second rule is, anyway, let me just note down the first rule. Don't include any special characters. The second rule is don't start with a number. So I'm not allowed to say this. This is gonna give me an error because I'm not allowed to start with a number. Right? So you're not supposed to start with a number, but you can always have a number in between. So that's not an issue. And you can start with an underscore. So that I would say is rule number 2. Don't start with a number. So mostly, I think these are the main don't do's. Well, one more safe thing to follow is, don't use any Python keyword. So a keyword is something that's an inbuilt Python. It's an inbuilt. It's something that's used for you to sort of conduct operations on Python keywords. So they have a specific role on Python. So for example, class has a specific role. So if I say class is equal to 5, then it's not going to accept that because this is a keyword in Python. It has a different role to play when it comes to Python operations. So yeah, that's one more important thing. So I think those are the don't do's. So a Python keyword can't be a variable name. So those are rules for setting variable names, and there are few other things like variable names are case sensitive. So when I say case sensitive, it means that lowercase vish 56 is different from capital vish 56, or let me say 59. So both these two are different variables. So that's what it means when I say case sensitive. See, lowercase vish is 56 and uppercase vish is 59. So they're different um, variables. So yeah, I think those are some of the main rules, and some best practices are um, give a name that makes sense. Because for example, if you're adding two numbers, then call it number 1 is equal to 5 and number 2 is equal to 8. Right? If you just give it a random name, then it's gonna be difficult for you to reference it later on, and when someone else is reading your code, um, it becomes easier for them as well. Because let's say you have written a bunch of code, and um, maybe a month later someone takes a look at it, it shouldn't confuse them as to what's the role of a particular variable. So it's a very good practice to keep a variable name that sort of is relevant for your particular task, right? Um, so that's one of the main things. And these are the bunch of rules, I would say, right? Uh, right. So now let's look into something we call as Python operators, right? So now what are Python operators? Python operators are, you know, um, things that you can use to compare or assign certain values to variables, or anything that involves um, more than one variable, or a variable and a value. So for example, you have a assignment operator, and then that's as simple as assigning a value to a variable. So you can say a is equal to hello, this is an assignment operator. Equal to is an assignment operator. So it's as simple as that. Then you have a bunch of other operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? So you can always say a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3, and I can say a plus b, which is my addition operator, right? And I can say a minus b. I can do a asterisk b, which is my multiplication, and I can do a /b, which is my division. So you would call this arithmetic operators, right? These are called arithmetic operators. So you have a few other arithmetic operators like you can do a mod b. So this will give you the remainder when you divide a and b. So 5 divided by 3 is 1 with a remainder of 2. So this will give you the remainder. So this is called the modulus operator, and this will gives the remainder when first variable is divided by the second. That's about your modulus operator. That's another arithmetic operator. And then you have the power operator. So if you want the, let's say 2 power 3, something like that, or a power b, you can just do a double asterisk b. This will give you a to the power of b. That's 5 to the power of 3 is 125, right? So that's one more commonly used operators. Then you also have the floor division operator, and so this is like 2 forward slashes, right? And what this operator does is this divides and then rounds down. So for example, a is 5 and b is 3, right? So when you do a divided by b with 2 forward slashes, which is called the floor division operator, you get 1. 5 by 3 is 1.67. You round it down to 1. So for example, if I change the values and I say a is 9 and b is 2, 9 by 2 is 4.5, but this will round it down to 4. That's about the floor division operator. So these are the main, I would say, arithmetic operators. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, used every day. Then you have the comparison operators. So, as the name suggests, it's used to compare two variables or a value and a variable or two values. So I can say A is Vishal, B is also Vishal. So I can just say A equal to B is true. So this sort of compares whether A and B are the same. So equal to is equal to comparison. So if two values are equal, it says true, and if they are not equal, it says false. So if I just remove A, and then if I do this, it's going to say false because they're not equal anymore. Similarly, you have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and not equal to. So all these are the common comparison operators. So if I can say num1 is equal to 5, num2 is equal to 9. So I can do all these things like num1 greater than num2, num1 less than or equal to num2. So, and I can do num1 not equal to num2. Right, so these are all the common comparison operators. And finally, you have something called the logical operators. And so, again, logical operators are, you can divide them into these three: and, or, and not, mostly. So you can say, for example, let's say I'll take three numbers, num1, num2, and num3. So let me take one more number. Let me say this is 14. So I can say num1 is less than num3 and num2 is less than num3. So I'm checking for two conditions at the same time, right? So, it's num3. So it's going to say true because, both num1 and num2, both of these are lesser than num3. So that'll give you true. So that's about the AND operator. So it checks if both returns true if both conditions are true. So this returns true if both conditions, or you can say both comparison conditions are true. And then you have the OR operator. So this is going to return true if any one of the conditions are true. So now you can see the first condition is false because num1 is not greater than num3, but the second condition is true. So this is still going to return true. So this OR returns true if any one condition is true. And this is about the AND. Similarly, we have the NOT as well. So the NOT logical operator will just tell you whether something is not true or not false. We want to check if something is not true. So for example, we know that num1 is less than num3, right? So num1 is 5, num3 is 14. We know that num1 is less than num3, which is true. So if I want to reverse, if I want to check if num1 is not less than num3, then I just put the not operator. So it's like you want to check the reverse. So not num1 less than num3 will give you false because num1 is less than num3. So it'll give you the opposite result. So that's like the not. So similarly, we know that num2 is not greater than num3 because num2 greater than num3 will give you false. Adding a not here will give you true. So checking if something is not true, not false, that's what the not operator is used to do, right? So these are some of the common operators that you have, the arithmetic operators, the assignment operator, the logical operators. Again, very simple, straightforward mathematical operations, most of them. There are a few other operations which we will explore and discover as we move forward in this particular course, right? Because there are so many and we are going to explore a ton of them. So yeah, so that's about this session, guys. It was about some rules based on variable names and some operators. So with that, I think that's a pretty good introduction we have had so far across the two videos, and we'll get into some more interesting stuff in the coming videos. Once again, thank you for watching.